It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to provide you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. I hope you're enjoying our podcasts and our YouTube shows. Please share an episode with a friend who you think might enjoy our show, our content. In this episode, I want to talk about something that is a real beast of a burden right now on individuals who live alone, couples, families, what you're having to pay for housing costs. And later, I want to talk to you about shopping, saving big in places that might not be normally where you think of going. Right now, I want to talk about where our wallet's going. Number one place people's money is going is to housing. And that's as it has been. But what's different is the stressor of what people are having to pay for housing. And there are certain markets in the United States that half of what people make is going to putting a roof over their heads. And that means everything else gets squeezed out. I'm telling you, everything gets squeezed out. Particularly in the highest cost markets in the U.S., it is a price pressure that is only relieved from people who make a lot more than typical money, or people who roommate up, or people who go into a very, very small space. My daughter, who lives in Los Angeles, lives in just right about 300, as best I walked it off, it was about 310 square feet. Just slightly more than 300 square feet. And what she pays per month is over $2,000 a month for slightly more than 300 square feet. And that's what it takes in really, really expensive places. If you don't live in Boston or New York or Seattle, Portland used to be up there with Seattle in cost. San Francisco, LA. Housing costs are more variable. And so I want to talk about formulas. The historical formula is that you should be using just a little more than a quarter of your net take home on housing. And people are spending a lot more. People are spending more than a third usually. But I want to talk about an important squeeze play. Just a couple of days ago, I talked about how for the first time there was a little glimmer of a slight crease of a smile on the faces of potential home buyers. Conditions have eased in a lot of the country just a little bit, giving a little bit of hope that you might be able to buy a place to live. And I know there's all these formulas about percents of money you should be using for housing and all that. But I want you to think about this. Don't think about the formulas. I want you to think about, what are you paying per month to rent? Dollars. Where are your other dollars going? Serious deep dive. Where's your money going? And if you buy a place, how much more per month is that place going to cost? It's not just the mortgage. You have to factor in the taxes and insurance. You also have to factor in another thing, and it's the one that most home buyers conveniently forget about, and that's maintenance and repairs that come with it. And so you have to plan for those too. Is it realistic in your budget that you can take your housing cost up whatever amount it would be, accounting for the numbers you can know, the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, and then the number you don't know, adding in that padding for repairs and maintenance. Can you do it? Can you do it in your budget? Because you don't want to just hope and it's all going to be fine. Because truth is, people are struggling. A lot of people who took out mortgages and bought a first home in the last few years are struggling now paying their bills. So be honest with yourself. Don't just say, I'm going to stretch. How are you going to stretch? Where's the money going to come from? Does it mean you take a part-time job to achieve what you want buying that home? Does it mean that historically you've gotten new wheels every so often and now you just keep driving what you got because it's paid for? What are the changes you have to make that it's realistic for you to buy a home in today's market conditions? Honesty with yourself up front eliminates a lot of heartache later.
All right. Questions came in from all over the place, and this one's from Lydia in Colorado. Clark, thanks for all you do. I'm looking at renter's insurance for my daughter living in a dorm. I'm thinking of adding coverage for her phone, iPad, and computer rented from the school. The computer's rented from school for $4 a month. Renter's insurance through USAA, where I have home and auto, is $10 a month, including the $4 a month for electronics.
Wait. The renter's insurance is only $6 a month. Add $4 more for the technology?
Well, think about it, a dorm room. There's probably not much to insure.
Have you seen, you've got a kid in college, how people glam up the dorm rooms?
Some people, but still. I mean, okay. Do you recommend getting renter's insurance through a different insurer, or would a claim on renter's insurance increase my auto or home rates? I think the most likely claim would be on her phone or iPad or computer.
So Lydia, gosh, I'm thrilled you're asking this question. And since you're USAA, call and ask them the question. Is this renter's insurance policy, if a claim is against it, is that going to be a claim against your homeowners? If it is, then you want to buy an independent renter's policy. There are many available. We have information for you on clark.com about how to buy one independently. And you are so on the money that you don't want to be in a position where a little claim on renter's insurance would be a mark against you on your homeowner's policy that would haunt you for a long time. So you're really thinking quite wisely about it. But that renter's insurance, that's a cheap premium.
Monica in Pennsylvania says, Clark, I'm a huge fan of your show and listen daily. I love everything about the show, including your goofy laugh.
Do I have a goofy laugh?
I don't think so. Quick question. My daughter is a senior in college. She's 21 and has been using a Wells Fargo debit card her whole life to make purchases. My husband and I added her to our American Express Platinum card about 3 years ago as an authorized user per your recommendation to help her build a credit score. Would now be a good time for her to apply for a student credit card as another way for her to build credit?
100%.
And P.S., she's extremely wise regarding money and even has a Roth IRA which she contributes to monthly. If you think she should apply for a new credit card, which one is best for her? Travel points are not important.
So there are lots of student cards now. The most common one is the Discover Student Card Program. That's a place where Capital One has established, that's who owns Discover, has established a big presence among college students because the first card people have tends to create a brand loyalty that lasts for decades. And so Discover has been front and center on that. They're not the only one, but they have a variety of student cards, including ones, you said it doesn't matter, but ones that have rewards, I think 1%
Yeah, my daughter has a Capital One that has that.
Capital One student card that has 1%.
Cashback, yep.
Yeah, so that is something I want any college senior to do before you get out of college, to get cards in your own name, because the credit card companies lower their normal requirements for approval for students that as soon as they graduate, the normal rules come into play. And so your daughter will be in great shape if she gets 1 or 2 cards while she's a senior that she can then use once she's graduated and earning, hopefully, a wonderful paycheck after college.
Ron in Massachusetts says, "Hi Clark, thanks for helping me start my Roth journey. I have money from my children sitting in a CD ladder. They are 10 and 13. I want this money to grow and be used for buying property when they are of age. What's a safe way to invest it so it can grow more quickly than 4 to 5%, and how do I approach taxes?"
Okay, so taxes are minimal unless you've got a lot of money sitting in the CD ladders. So I don't know what you mean by safe, because inflation is the biggest enemy you have. And if you want to really help the kids later in life, when they're at the point they are looking at buying their first place, then you want the money in an investment account, not savings. And yes, you put money in an investment account, and in the short term, you have a lot of up and down risk. But longer term, investment accounts have much higher returns and better tax treatment than money in CDs or savings accounts. So I would look with young kids at opening accounts for them at Fidelity Investments and put them in Fidelity Zero funds, funds that have no commission and no ongoing expenses, that invest either in the wide U.S. stock market or international. If you go to fidelity.com, you can look at kids' accounts. Your 13-year-old, I think, is already eligible to have a limited action account. 10-year-old, not old enough yet, but can have a custodial account with Fidelity. And the zero funds seem to me the best place. And as the CDs mature, you add to those accounts. So you're essentially dollar cost averaging into investment accounts for your kids, with the idea being in, let's say, 15 years from now, they will have far more growth and better tax treatment on the account in that than they would have in a CD ladder. And yes, markets go down, and it can be scary drops, like the steepest roller coaster you've seen. They can have rocket-like returns for a while. But if you look at the longer term, they will way outperform what your kids will earn in the CD ladder. CDs and savings accounts are really parking spaces for money. They're not places where money works for you. Money just kind of sits there fighting inflation, not growing beyond it. Coming up ahead, speaking of inflation, how are people stretching their dollars now? I'll tell you what I've been doing to get more value out of every dollar, and it absolutely works, and your choices are growing exponentially. So it is true, I'm really cheap. And one of the places I like to go are secondhand stores. And I go to thrift stores routinely. And thrift stores are not one size fits all. The merchandise they target, that they sell, is completely different one thrift store to another. What's available online, buying secondhand. My wife buys almost everything she wears secondhand. And she's really fashion oriented. And so thrifting, thrift stores, secondhand stores, been around forever, right? What's different now, because of the price pressures affecting so many of us, from the years of inflation we've been through the last 6, and now unfortunately potentially escalating for a while because of tariffs, that thrift stores play a bigger role in helping you stretch your dollars, no doubt. And something that most people drive right by and never even notice is another place you might consider looking, and that's pawn shops. Pawn shops are something, even people who go to thrift stores, a lot of them are like, I'm not walking in a pawn shop. And then I'd ask, why not? Why wouldn't you? Because if you look at what something costs new versus used, I mean, come on. Now, for a guy, I'll tell you, buying secondhand clothes is not easy because guys tend to wear clothes till they're ratty, till they have holes in them, till they're faded, and then they donate. Women, on the other hand, it's much easier for women with clothing because women buy a lot of clothing that, well, that's not something they thought it looked good on when they bought it, but they never wore it, so they're thrifting it. A lot of items that women donate to thrift stores or ones that you put stuff on consignment, the stuff may still have the new tag in it. A real opportunity to save, not as frequent, almost never for guys. The one thing I'll find that I can buy clothing-wise as a guy is often a suit or a sport coat. And most of what I have, I bought secondhand, and they're so cheap buying them that way. And so this is an opportunity on so many items to save. I talked months ago about the opportunities with used furniture. And the used furniture category now has sellers at all different price points, from designer, secondhand goods, all the way down to people selling old IKEA stuff at a secondhand store. So this is something that if you feel like you're just feeling that financial pressure everywhere you turn, and historically this is not something you felt like you wanted to do, let me tell you, I do it. And I'll tell you about recently, I went on a tour of a number of secondhand stores, and it was a specific reason for a family member, but I'd always go looking at the clothing, and I could tell, and really I realize I've done this so much, I could tell in 30 seconds in a secondhand store if I should be looking at the clothing or not. Sometimes it's treasure. Sometimes, at least for me, it's trash.
Okay.
Do you buy secondhand clothing?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have your favorite secondhand stores, or how do you buy it?
Yeah, there are a couple I really like. I try to go to places where I know people spend a lot of money on their clothes and then donate them a lot, like neighborhoods like that. If they have a thrift store, I'll go there and try to find what I can. So yeah, especially if I need like a special occasion dress, kind of like you with the suits. It's a great thing to get because people will wear something once and then they donate it. So, and it saves you so much money. But I'm surprised with you. Honestly, you spend so little on your clothes. You're probably beating the thrift store prices anyway. Literally. Okay.
So my wife loves one particular thrift store in Seattle that had been a local-only thrift store. And then during COVID, when Seattle was locked down, they started selling clothes online and doing a daily show on, I guess, Instagram or something. And now they've got this huge national audience.
Wow.
And it was weird how businesses had to adapt during COVID so many different ways, and how for this business, they went from being a small local boutique-y kind of high-end, what you're talking about, high-end secondhand women's clothing, to being this big national player. And it only happened because they adapted during COVID. And I always talk about in adversity, you never know what the adversity is. It's how you adapt to adversity that makes such a difference in your own life or in your own business.
So true. All right. This came in from Astrid in Utah, who's going through a tough situation. Astrid says, Hi, Clark. I'm getting $150,000 from my divorce, plus another $150,000 from his 401k to my 401k. I want to be smart with this money, so my primary plan is to buy a house for me and my 2 children. I'm 41 with a full-time job in the medical field, but I work closer to 50 hours a week, sometimes more. I would like to invest some of this money in a business that can give me more free time to be with my children, but I'm unsure what to do and I need some advice.
So, Astrid, I'm really sorry about the pain you're going through with your divorce. And one thing I want you to think about is that if you start doing your own thing in order to have more flexibility with your children, you may find that you start working more hours than the 50 you are right now at your job in the medical field. That's something that I don't want you to try to make too much change in your life all at once. And when you talk about doing something, you said investing in a business that could give you more free time. It's got to be, when you're going to go out on your own, it's got to be in the field you already know in some way. If your expertise, training, and education is in the medical field, how can you do that on your own instead of working for someone else? And what kind of realistic schedule can you have? You don't want to just, at this point in your life, throw out at 41 what you've done and start clean sheet with a whole new career. You want to draw at this point on the knowledge base and experience and training you already have and what you seek to do. But you may, again, I want to emphasize, you may, going out and doing your own thing, you may have more flexibility as to schedule, but the hours you work likely will increase, not decrease, when you go out on your own. As for buying a home, I couldn't tell from what you said if you would take the $150 in cash and use it towards a home, or if you were thinking of the additional money in your 401k, also making that part of the home purchase. Please don't do that. Leave, since you got this opportunity of having this booster shot to your 401k, I want you to leave that be invested in the 401k. And the money that you have to put towards buying your own place should come from the $150 you got that's free and clear, not in an investment account. Now, I want to wish you the best moving forward as you reestablish a new life with your children.
I also want to just say, just on a personal note, I have some friends that have gone through this experience, gotten divorced, and they immediately wanted to buy a house just to have that security for their kids. But it, going back to what you talked about at the top of the podcast, like maybe think through whether you have to buy right now if it's not, if things aren't favorable for that. I don't know what the situation is, but
well, it is normal that when somebody goes through a traumatic life experience, and more often than not a divorce is that they want to just clean sheet everything, start over anew, do all kinds of things at once. And it pays off better to be methodical and slow walk making decisions that are major in your life right now.
Because I have a couple friends that are now sort of in trouble because they did that too quickly. And
they bought a house too fast.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go to Kitty in Georgia here. Kitty says, this is kind of a long one, but I really wanted to read it to you, Clark. I hope this gets to Clark himself because I need to know that he knows this. I started listening to Clark in 1992. I was about to turn 30. I was in the process of getting myself into big credit card trouble. I was a girl born in 1962, and anything money related was not a part of my education. By 1995, I was in serious debt and living paycheck to paycheck, saving nothing and only making minimum payments on my debt. On top of that, my student loans on an MFA in theater, acting and directing, were completely unmanageable, and I kept taking deferments. Clark, because of you, I went to consumer credit counseling. It was not easy, but I managed to get my debt paid off.
Congratulations.
I slowly and carefully rebuilt my credit and used it responsibly. I bought a small house. I was a late starter in terms of retirement savings and didn't start contributing until I was 41. I made it my primary financial focus, upping my contribution every year. I also started saving in earnest. I did inherit a small amount when my mother passed away last year. It allowed me to retire 2 years before I had planned. Over the past 4 years, I've managed to pay off a 0% for 5 years total HVAC replacement, a HELOC that I took out to pay off my student loans because I could deduct the interest on that, but not on the student loans, my used Kia, and every single one of my credit cards that kept a balance. 2 weeks ago, I paid the balance of my mortgage.
Wow.
I just got to chill. I am 100% debt-free. I have a few subscriptions charged to one credit card that amounts to $160 a month, and it is paid off every month. I do make major purchases on it, but only to get the points, and only if I know I can pay it off that month. My credit score is 850.
Okay, I've never had a perfect score on the FICO. Wow.
I simply wanted you to know that I was not okay. I started listening to your advice, and now I'm comfortably retired and completely debt-free. I continue to read your daily newsletter and have kept so many of them for future reference. You did that, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want everyone to know that it really is possible to get out of the hole if you stop digging.
All right, so Kitty, thank you for taking the time to write that. But you said something I disagree with. You said you did that, referring to me. All I did was give you some ideas, maybe some inspiration, and let you know what was possible. And it didn't happen in a minute. It happened over time, and it required a complete change in mentality and how you approach money, and then the discipline to save and invest. And so your story is an inspiration to someone else who maybe is in their 20s or 30s right now, and they feel like they can never get ahead, or older, never get ahead of their debts, and that all they're doing is servicing those debts. You prove with a liberal arts degree that you were able to tackle all those responsibilities, student loans, everything, pay them off, build a life of independence, own everything free and clear, and be able to retire even 2 years in your plan. And you're the one who did it. And I'm so glad that this happened in your life. And you don't know, just by sharing your story, who else might think completely differently about money and what's possible in their life as well. Congratulations to you. I hope you're enjoying the independence that you have now. That perfect 850. Wow. And the retirement to spend your time doing what you want instead of what somebody says you have to do. What a great way to end today's podcast. So just know that what we're about is about not the quick fix, not the shortcut, that I'm an incrementalist. I used to say I was the turtle, but I was corrected on Clark Stinks. I'm actually a tortoise. But the point is, slow and steady wins. And that's exactly what you did. And that's what's available to most of us. You set that roadmap and you follow it and you do it step by step and you turn the thing around. You change the situation. Love it. By the way, if there's something that's bugging you, you got a problem you don't know how to solve, know that something we provide is one-on-one free advice consultation. And it's something we've been doing since 1993. And so if you want some kind of guidance for something bugging you, go to clark.com/CAC and you'll see how to get that free one-on-one advice and guidance. Because what we're about in everything we do is about you being empowered with knowledge so you can save more, spend less, and never, never, not ever get ripped off. And we'll see you Friday with Clark Stinks.